This is a Japanese movie I hadn't even heard about until Jay from Red Letter Media recommended it. And then it popped up on, I believe, the Guardian's list of best movies of the year. So I figured it's probably worth seeing, and you know what? I'd say it is. Because it took a very unique and interesting approach to the zombie genre. And a lot of what makes this as good as it is happens later on in the movie. And unfortunately, since this is spoiler free, I can't really say much about it. But I can give you an idea of what the basic premise here is. And it's essentially about this small crew of people who are making a zombie movie. A zombie movie that's supposed to be one long take, uncut. But things sort of go from there in what I would say is a rather unexpected way. And this is definitely one of these movies you gotta stick with. If you're not liking it in the first 20 minutes, just stick with it. Because I could see a lot of people going, what is this? This is pretty bad, and shutting it off. Because I myself was going, okay, well, this looks super cheap. The acting's not great, the score is pretty terrible, and it just feels like it was made over the course of a weekend by a handful of people and no budget. But don't give up, don't shut it off, because this thing has a pretty interesting 3-act structure. And once the first act wraps up, you'll be glad you stuck around. Not that I think the first act is terrible either, it was actually pretty fun. Way more fun than it had any right to be. But the way this is structured, the later acts just add even more depth to the first act. And you can then look back and sorta enjoy it all over again with a fresh perspective. And that's one of the reasons this worked as well as it did. It found a very fun and creative way to add depth to something pretty simple. And at first I was really worried. I was wondering how on earth they could keep this entertaining for 90 minutes. But then it really surprised me in a good way too. I was definitely not bored by this. In fact, I thought it was pretty fun, very unique, and surprisingly clever too. And I really wish more people would think outside the box like this when coming up with concepts for movies. Because this has a pretty ambitious idea, but at the same time it's incredibly simple too. But on the other hand, the execution must have been anything but simple. In fact, this must have been a bit of a nightmare to put together, logistically. And I definitely wouldn't have wanted to be the one in charge of that. But yeah, I was really impressed by what they did with this. I mean, the basic idea here is pretty great, but then how they pulled it all off was even better. And I just ended up enjoying this quite a bit. I thought it was pretty good. But since I have to be very careful about what I say here, so as not to give anything away, because a lot of it does hinge on the surprises it has up its sleeve. And I don't really know what else I could really say about this. It's just a very clever, creative, fun and funny movie, and I liked it a lot. And I respect and admire what they managed to do here too. But with that being said, would I recommend it? Yeah, especially if you feel like watching something a bit different. But if you're just looking for a very basic standard movie, this might not be for you. So maybe give it a shot, maybe don't. After all, I'm not your dad. But hey, what are your thoughts on this? Have you seen it? Did you like it? Let me know. And if you enjoyed the video, maybe give it a thumbs up or sub to the channel, because that would be fantastic. And if you'd like, you can also support me on Patreon or PayPal through the links in the description. And as always, I appreciate you and thanks for watching.